You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch. Welcome to the season 3 premiere of Stupid Bitches Say What. We do know that we dropped a Eurovision episode last week, but that was more of a special one. So this is really the premiere of season 3.
Super special, if you will.
Super special. It's the Aussie podcast about everything and nothing, but always with wine, and your hosts, Skye Lee Collett and me, Sean Hipkins. This week is True Crime. Little old man. This week is True Crime, where we each research heinous acts committed in Australia.
Sean will cover the case of Arthur Freeman, the father who did the unthinkable to one of his own children and claimed insanity. As his defense team coined it, was he mad or was he bad? Oh, that's horrible. I don't like that at all.
You decide.
While I cover the case of Anu Singh, charged of manslaughter by drugging her boyfriend of 2 years with Rohypnol and heroin. What are you drinking, Sean?
Well, Skye, I've saved this for the
Save, stupid bitch.
Well, I haven't saved it specially. I've saved this drink because I thought it was significant for our premiere. I don't know if that popped.
You've piqued my interest. I can't see anything. I can just.
It's just a little glass of bubbles.
Oh, just a little glass of bubbles.
To say
cheers, stupid bitch.
Cheers to season 3. And
hurrah!
Hurrah. And cheers to another achievement that we had recently crowning ourselves with. We recently crowned ourselves with. Should we say it now?
Yes.
Oh, we got 1,000 listens.
I thought you wanted to say it in unison. I was like, we have not rehearsed this. How are we going to do this? We're actually 1,027 listens right at this moment. So since we clocked over 1,000, we've also clocked over another 27. So I feel like our next 1,000 is just really, going to motor through. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone for supporting us. We love it.
Thanks, listeners. Thanks, supporters. Thanks, family and friends who've listened to all the podcasts from the beginning to the end. And
thank you to you, Skye, as well.
Thank you, Bino.
I'll stop you. No, it was great. We were hoping to achieve the 1,000 before we started season 3, and we did, and
Indeed.
more so, as you said. Didn't think it would be when we first started it. I didn't think we'd get to this so quickly, so I'm very pleased.
I know, I'm very pleased too, but just excuse me while I take off my earrings because they're actually digging into. They're beautiful and I love them, but they're digging into my head.
And an earring.
Yeah.
Do not.
They just don't compute.
They just don't compute. So I'm actually drinking. It's just your standard old Brown Brothers King Valley Prosecco.
A little bit of Brown Brothers. I used to drink their old Cruchon Riesling back in the day when I first started drinking wine, but I would rather toss it in the toilet than drink it now because it is so sweet. Do you remember Cruchon Riesling? Everyone drank it back in the day.
Oh, no, not me. I was more of a goon warrior back then, I think.
It was an expensive drop.
Yes, no, I stick to the $10 cask of Cooler Bar.
I used to drink the Passion Pop actually because they were $3 a bottle.
Yeah.
Back in those days.
Yes, it's just your standard little bubbles, and it's nice and a celebratory drink. But more,
yeah.
Oh, pray tell, Skye, what the hell are you drinking?
Well, look, let's disclose the fact that it is a Thursday evening for us. We do have a couple of weeks of madness coming up where even doing a double podcast on a Friday night was still not sufficient to squeeze our podcasting commitments into the time frame that we had. So it's Thursday night. Both of us have to work tomorrow.
Yes.
So
let's get shit-faced.
Well, I'm trying not to get shit-faced because I have to work tomorrow, but I know that I'm going to finish this bottle before I go to bed because that's just the way I roll. But it's one bottle of white, please. I can do that and run a marathon, really. But I'm drinking, it's pretty boring, actually. It's an Oyster Bay from New Zealand, Hawke's Bay, actually. I've never noticed it says Hawke's Bay on Oyster Bay. I've drunk 1,000 of these bottles of wine.
It's a bit of a contradiction, isn't it?
I know, right?
Oyster Bay,
Oyster Bay. But it's Pinot Gris or Pinot Gris. Pinot Gris.
Yes.
That I
and you
grabbed.
Do like the Pinot Gris.
I do, but I must say, remember I've banged on about this a lot.
Yes, I just listened to that episode again today, actually.
I love the Pinot Gris. I loved one type and became obsessed. Couldn't find anything that came close. I think I'm a bit loud, actually. I better take my mic a bit back. Came anywhere close to being as good as that Naked Wine Pinot Gris. But I must say, this is beautiful.
So how's your week been anyway, stupid bitch?
Look, I had the craziness of my sister's 40th birthday party on Saturday night, which you were there for. So you remember how my house got completely trashed by a bunch of small humans.
I did. Small screaming humans. It
was very muddy in my backyard, and I guess I was incredibly naive about the amount of people who were coming to that party.
And the amount of children that came with them.
Yes, that's right. So I had a huge cleanup day on Monday, and then straight back into work. I've got a house inspection next Tuesday, so I'm really looking forward to a very quiet weekend this weekend.
Nice.
Just bumming around, going to watch Tyler play football. I did want to very, very quickly mention that I finished an amazing book. I don't want to go into a review of it, but I will just say, if you've read anything by, Taylor Jenkins Reid, it's only because I've got another one of her books on my bookshelf. It's called The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and they're just about to make it into a movie by Netflix, or Netflix has just recently brought the rights to make it into a film. They haven't cast it yet, so that's how early stages it is. What a fucking great book.
Ooh.
I actually think you would really enjoy it because it has a lot of stuff. It talks about the Stonewall riots at one point.
Oh wow.
Because it's set, like, it starts in the 50s. Such a great book. I've read a couple of this author's books before, and they were good. She's really, like, what people say about her is that she's really great at writing characters, making you really, relate to the characters and fall in love with them. I found that in her first book that I read of hers, but I didn't love the ending, so it really drew away from it for me. But this book made me laugh, made me ugly cry.
Oh, wow.
I read
it takes a lot for a book to draw those emotions of tears out.
Yeah, I actually think you might like it. So next time you're over, I'll give it to you and see if you want to read it. But if you haven't, if you're looking for a really good, and it was like a page turner. Like I read the first chapter and I was instantly hooked. Couldn't put it down.
Okay. Yep. I love books.
So good. So if you're looking for a really quick, easy, enjoyable read, I strongly, highly recommend The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Really good.
Okay. Good review. Thank you.
And how's your week been, you stupid bitch?
Look, it's been good. Let's quickly say though, I think the only book I read that made me cry at the end was Holding the Man.
Oh, that they made into a film. Well, I haven't read the book and I haven't seen the film. I know the film though.
Yeah, give the book a go before you see the film. It sort of captures everything a bit more, and it's Australian. It's based on a true story. Yeah. But yeah, my week. So you may recall in our season 2 finale, What's the Hapseps? I was complaining to you about some weird cat piss smell that had sort of got into our car.
Potentially from the floods. Yes, I recall.
From the floods. We didn't know what the fuck was going on. And it just kept being there. We were waiting for it to die out. We were thinking maybe a gecko, something had died and in the motor, and we were waiting for it to just decompose or burn away.
You were trying to dose it with that car air fresheners and
No, that didn't work. And then and we just thought, it just disappeared, but it just didn't. It was just there, this rank smell. So then we went shopping about a week and a half after that. And
I can't wait to hear what it was.
We got to the boot. We got all the shopping bags in there. I pulled them out.
I know what you got. I bet I know what you're going to say.
And you know how you have, the cold bags that are cube-like and they don't really collapse that easy?
Yes.
We have our cold bags stacked in each other and you take out the ones you need. Took out the one I need, and then on the bottom of the bottom cold bag, there was a brown bag, and like it was a bit wet. And I was like, what the fuck? And there was this brown bag that was wet and contained a whole heap of mushrooms that we'd forgotten about and left in the car. And they had literally just disintegrated into nothing. There wasn't even a mushroom there. It was just all liquid. Because mushrooms are fully water and shit.
Yeah.
And that was the rank smell that was fucking going through. It was the jubilation that occurred afterwards, realizing what it was, and we'd got the sauce and we fucked out the bags. But yeah, fucking mushrooms smell like cat piss.
So yeah,
when they're left.
decomposing mushrooms smell like vinegar. Well, talking about that, I thought you were going to say raw meat because do you know what? Many years ago, and this is when I was living at Thornlands, when I really had I'd lived in a share house for a while, but this is my first real house out. When Jamie and I were living together before we got married, and a similar thing happened to us. And it was in my little Honda that I used to drive, and there was this smell. And it was so horrible, and I'd searched the whole car from top to bottom, couldn't find anything. And I was convinced that it was a neighbourhood kid who was playing a prank on me and had filled like my wheel hubs or something with prawn heads or off meat or something like that. That's what I was convinced had happened because the smell was just, and every time people got in my car, they were like, this is disgusting. They'd have to drive with the windows down. It was horrid. Anyway, the same thing happened. Underneath a whole bunch of stuff in the boot, even though I'd checked it a bunch of times and fallen down the back, was like a 500-gram thing of meat, of beef bits.
God. And that would actually be really rotten.
And it went rot, and it was weeks and weeks that it was in there. And it was to the point where I was like, I can't even drive in this car. That's how bad it was. And people would get in and they would like, don't take Skye's car. Someone else take a car. It smells too bad.
Oh yeah.
So it's easy to do.
Oh, Jesus, we got some freshener at that day at the shops, sprayed the fuck out of it, and now the smell's gone, which is great. But yeah, fucking mushrooms, motherfuckers.
Mushrooms, I love. And what a waste. Mushrooms are expensive.
And I was really excited too because the only mushrooms they had in the button mushrooms were fucking massive. They were like the size of an orange. The diameter. I was like, these will be fun to cut up and put in a meal. Didn't even realize that we didn't have them because we didn't have mushroom risotto that fortnight. So I wasn't missing the ingredient.
We're the back of the mushrooms, but you didn't.
No, we didn't get to there.
Obviously, would you have a little cheeky Hungry Jack?
We probably had a little Deliveroo, yeah. And now I'm 45. I didn't tell you this.
Good advice.
I got a letter.
You have to do the poop. You have to do the poop in the cup.
No, not yet. But I got a letter from the fucking government saying, now that you're turned 45, you've got some life checks to complete. And they send you to a website and you fill out all these, like just tick boxes on your health, your your retirement and all this type of stuff to see where your super's going, to make sure that your lifestyle isn't too hectic. I've been told that, they say if you have 4 standard drinks a day or whatever, you're an alcoholic. I'm like, well, I don't do it every day, but on the weekend I'd have my week's worth.
Certainly more than fucking 4.
Yeah, exactly.
4 bottles.
So you look forward to that coming your way in a couple of years.
And then I think that's horrifying and confronting but also in some ways quite good about a government and health.
To being proactive in that sense.
Also,
I know. I think I get to poop in a cup in 5 more years.
Yeah, because that's 50, isn't it? Once you turn 50, you've got to start pooping in the cup. Yeah.
Yeah. But you do it all at home now, apparently, and then just send it off.
They send you a pack with the envelope and everything, and you poop in the cup. Mum and Dad have done it.
Speaking of sending off samples as well, Vinny and I also just posted today. We did that Ancestry DNA thing.
Well, I'm going to get it for Mum for Mother's Day.
Yeah, they've got a sale on at the moment.
Banging on about it for fucking years, and she won't buy it for herself.
I think it's $50.
Is it right now?
At the moment. Yeah, well, no, it's $50 off for a Mother's Day special because we got it for Mum for Mother's Day once too. But be prepared what you paid, then you have to pay an extra $30 or something for postage for when you send it back because it goes to Ireland.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, we should have those results in a few months.
Ooh, that'll be exciting. That'll be a good podcast topic, won't it?
Yeah, and we paid extra because we got it again when it was a $50 off thing, and so we got the one that had the came with your traits. So apparently now they can do some extra thing where they can try and determine your personality traits and shit based on your DNA.
must say, this penis going down swell.
Swimmingly.
Really floating my boat right now. I'm just like, fuck, it feels like Friday.
I know.
I still got to cook tea.
So it's podcast. I know. Well, Vinny's going to cook tea for us. He said, give me a little notice, half an hour before you're done. I'm like, okay.
What time is it? Footy practice. So he won't be home until just after 8. So I guess we're not going to be eating till fucking 10 o'clock tonight. Lucky I got Link's sushi this afternoon about 3 o'clock. So that may keep him at bay for a bit.
All right. Well, let's get cracking so we can get Din Din sorted.
Let's do it. Okay, stupid.
All right.
All right. So you go first.
All right. So I'm doing, as we know, the case of Arthur Freeman, but it's really the case of Darcey Freeman, the little girl lost. So even the hardest of hearts wept on January 29th, 2009, when the news broke of witnesses reporting seeing a little girl being thrown off the Westgate Bridge in Melbourne, Victoria. And it would become later known as the act that chilled the city. Multiple people had contacted the police, distressed as they'd witnessed what looked like a rag doll being tossed over the railing of the bridge during peak hour traffic at 9:15 a.m. that morning, 58 metres to the waters below. At 10:30 a.m, Arthur Phillip Freeman, the girl's father, walked into the Commonwealth Law Courts in Melbourne. He was said to have been hysterical, crying and sobbing as he confessed to the crime, and he was arrested. And as he was arrested, and then the incomprehension had just set in, not only with the police, but with the whole community, the whole bloody city, just thinking, what the fuck? 4-year-old Darcey survived the fall and was rescued by paramedics and police. The little darling did fight hard, though. However, she died later that day due to the severe internal injury she sustained from the fall. After her death, Freeman, who was 37 at the time, was officially charged with murder and would go on to claim that he had unintentionally, unconsciously, and involuntarily thrown his daughter off the bridge, arguing he was mentally impaired at the time, rendering him incapable of reasoning in a rational manner. His defense would claim that his actions were the result of a highly disordered mind, a mind suffering mental illness, a mind which, because of this phenomena, had a number of consequences, which is just frustrating. It was clear, however, during the court proceedings that the motive was, in fact, spousal revenge, which we know there's been a lot of fucking shit still going on about that.
So this was 2009.
This is 2009.
So this was another one in the last couple of years, something similar to that, wasn't it? But it was a smaller child. It was a baby. It was him and the baby, I think, jumped off one of the bridges. That was a couple of years ago. That's the one I'm thinking of. I forgot about this one because she survived and then she died. Oh my God. It's just heartbreaking.
It's so terrible. And I'll get to that point, actually. So in the lead up to the event, so prior to it happening, Darcey and her older brother, Ben, and her younger brother, Jack, enjoyed a holiday with Freeman's parents, about 120 kilometres outside of Melbourne. The grandparents were looking after their grandkids over the 2 days prior to her death, while the children's parents were at a Melbourne court negotiating the custody arrangements and financial settlement that coincided with their divorce. And as so many of these things actually go, so when they're faced with the officials and they're in a mediation type of scenario or whatever, the abusive husbands will always be, oh yeah, everything's peachy. No, that's fine. Yes, that's great advice. I'll take on that advice. Everything's okay. Yep, no, I'm okay with that outcome. Everything's great. But later that night, Freeman was reported as contacting his friends, angry and dissatisfied with the outcome, stating that courts aren't supportive of fathers involved in custody disputes. He also tried to contact his former lover, who is now living in the UK. Called her 9 times over a series of hours. She didn't answer. Then he tried again the next morning, calling her, and then she finally picked up. It was 10 p.m. in the UK at the time, and she said the same thing. He was just there, he was very upset. He was very angry. He kept complaining, and she tried to calm him down, but nothing happened, obviously. The following day was January the 29th, and it was meant to be a very special day for Darcey. She'd been really excited about starting school that day in Hawthorne. It's going to be the same school her brother Ben attended. It had been agreed that Freeman would collect the children from their grandparents' house and drop them off that morning at the school, where Peter Barnes, Darcey's mother, and her mother were waiting out the front with Darcey's new school uniform so they could be there for the occasion, get her dressed and get her in and witness the event. So they're standing there waiting and waiting. And after watching all the other children disappear inside, when the bell rang, she phoned Freeman to see where they were. Another vicious argument ensued, and Freeman angrily states to Peter, "Say goodbye to your children," and hangs up the phone. She is frantic at this stage. So she's like, what the fuck? And she's calling him, and he's not answering. She calls him and he finally picks up and he's like, "Who is it?" And she's like, "It's me." And she's like, "What's going on?" And he just said again, say goodbye to your kids, and hung up again. Then in peak hour traffic, Freeman pulls over into the emergency lane of the Westgate Bridge, asks his daughter to get in the front car with him. He picks her up, gets out the car, and literally just throws her off the bridge. He gets back into the car, puts his seatbelt on, and takes off. There were dozens of witnesses who just couldn't believe what they'd seen, and the traumatic experience that would have brought on for everyone who would have witnessed it as well.
Oh my God.
It was later reported that as they drove off, Darcey's brother Ben, who is 6, was saying to his dad that they had to go back. "Darcey can't swim, Dad." And he just kept telling him over and over and over again that "Darcey can't swim, Dad. We've got to go back. We've got to go back and get her," not comprehending what he had actually just witnessed. Freeman goes to the law court, hysterical, and tries to hand his 2 kids off to security. They're like, "What's going on?" Blah, blah, blah. And it just appears to be catatonic. The matter now becomes, was he mentally unstable or just plain fucking evil? Or as his defense stated, was he mad or was he bad? Freeman is arrested and locked up for 2 years while awaiting trial. When he appears for the trial, he's really gone to town on himself to make himself look crazy. So he comes out at one stage, he's walking into the courtroom, says he's come out from prison. He's bald on the top, but his hair's all down and long down the side, and he's sort of throwing his hands up and holding weird shit up in the air. So he's trying to really put the whole mentally unfit card on, trying to get away with that. He's always hamming it up for the jury as their duty was to determine he is mentally unfit to be tried as a sane person, or is he just a prick who killed his daughter to get back at his ex-wife?
Yeah.
So this is what the jury are told they have to determine, and it actually really confuses them. So over the 3-week trial, they're a bit confused with what they actually have to determine. They're like, where they feel like if they say he isn't mad, does that mean then that they have to then go on and do another case on, or he has to then go to trial for whether he's guilty or innocent? So they don't know. Does it mean that he did the crime, or do they have to then assess if he's innocent or not? So if they say that he isn't mad, does it mean he's innocent, etc.? And the judge had to be very clear with them on a number of occasions throughout the trial on what in fact they were ruling on with their verdict.
Yeah.
So basically, for the defense to succeed, the jury had to be satisfied on the balance of probabilities. That's a quote, that Freeman was mentally impaired. So either way, he was going to get locked up, but that wasn't clear to them. They didn't know that he was going to get locked up as a result. They thought if they said he wasn't mad, he might have gone free. They were just very confused.
Yep.
And they at first come back with a hung jury, as they were unable to agree on the verdict, even though there's all these witness accounts and blah, 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 blah. The judge then basically just says to them, "Look, I'm not giving up on you. You've heard all the stories. I'm not going to discharge you just yet. I want you to figure out, did he do this with sound mind, or do you think he had mental impairment?" During the trial, 2 of the statements used towards Freeman were, and these were the 2 statements I guess they went off in the end, from the defense: was Mr. Freeman mad, or was he bad? Should he be condemned forever for the killing of his daughter, or should he ultimately be treated until he's well enough to function in society? Well, a statement against Freeman being mentally impaired was one from the doctors, who says, "Mr. Freeman parks his car in the far left emergency lane and puts his hazard lights on. He opens the door. reaches in, pulls Darcey from her seat. He holds her firmly and walks to the bridge. Then he lifts her above the high side rail and throws her over. He then returns to his car, starts it, and drives off into the traffic. There is a complex and protracted sequence of goal-directed behaviours that are not compatible with a state of mind in which the behaviour is not conscious or voluntary. The jury then come back with the verdict that he didn't belong in a psychiatric hospital, he belonged in jail. And on the 28th of March 2011, the jury found him guilty of murdering his daughter. On 11th of April 2011, he was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum non-parole period of 32 years. So Justice Paul Coughlin called the killing, and I quote, a fundamental breach of trust, saying what Darcey's last thoughts might have been does not bear thinking about, and her death must have been a painful and protracted one. Freeman attempted to appeal the sentence in 2011, but was unsuccessful. And so he's going to rot in hell, the piece of shit. There was also an inquest 5 years afterwards because the mother had apparently gone to a GP expressing concern about his mental health, thinking that he could be a danger to the children. And from the assessments that the psychiatrists and the GP had done, they didn't feel that that was a valid concern, or they didn't get any indications that that was the case. So there was an inquest then later, 5 years afterwards, into the situation, and could the GPs or the doctors have done anything to actually stop it? But in the end, they were found that no one could have stopped what he did from happening.
Oh my God, that is brutal.
It's terrible, isn't it?
32 years isn't enough. So how old was he when he went to prison, do you know?
So he was 37 at the time of doing it. And then it was, what, 2 years?
So he's not a young man either. So he's managed life for 37 years with mental health and mental health issues to the point where he would do something so awful to his own flesh and blood.
To get back at his ex-wife. And I think there was history of abuse as well within the family too. So I'm guessing against the wife.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's a monster, isn't he? And he looks like a fucking monster too. We'll have the pictures on the socials, of course.
Yeah. Well, I vaguely remember that, and I'm sure there's a more recent one as well of a similar circumstance. But I think he jumped with the child too, and I think the baby was young, like just under 12 months or roundabout. I'm sure it was when I was living on the Central Coast. That's what I was getting confused with a little bit. But after what you've talked about, and I swear to God, people who are listening, this is not planned, because I didn't even know what Bino was doing tonight until now. But my case is you are going to be absolutely gobsmacked over this one, considering what you've just talked about the mental health element.
Yeah.
I literally, like, whilst I was frantically doing my notes before we got together tonight, it's just because I have struggled to put it into words, because I've watched so many videos, so many documentaries, I've read so many articles this week on this case. Because I saw it. Remember how I said a couple of weeks ago when we were doing true crime that I found that Murderpedia page, and it's an international page, so you can break it down by countries, and that's how I've gotten a few of my cases where we've been doing true crime, and that's how Anu Singh came up, because she was one of those, and I just started reading about her case, and so I knew a vague bit about it, and I put it on my list of things that I might pursue for true crime. But once I started researching it, I was just blown away by the case. It's insane.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
So do you want to talk any more about yours, or do you want me to kick off?
Look, I was just going to, the only other thing I was going to say about it is it's just the whole issue of this spousal abuse, and then families when they are broken up, the backlash that comes from some of these fucking situations. It's just something that's just really fucked up at the moment. There's a lot of people getting killed all the time from fucking ex-spouses and just the abuse, and it's just...
The young girl who was killed with the baby in her arms in Newcastle just a couple of weeks ago, stabbed to death while she was holding the baby, and then they found her when the emergency services got there, and the child was covered in blood. He'd gone, and she was dead.
And that there was that woman up here too that went and set the house on fire of her ex-lover, and I think killed him and a child as well.
And he just got out of prison like a couple of days before for being put away for domestic abuse. Like there's some serious systemic issues that as a society we really need to fix. But can you ever really fix them? It's like people who murder in other situations as well that aren't domestic, like your Martin Bryant's of the world.
Mental health,
On October 26, 1997, 26-year-old Anu Singh, a law student, held the first of 2 dinner parties in the Canberra home that she shared with her boyfriend, Joe Cinque. Anu and Joe had met in Newcastle in 1995. Joe had completed his degree in engineering, and Anu was a bright, intelligent woman in the final years of her law degree. At the first dinner party on Friday night, Anu invited a large bunch of her law student friends, intelligent students with mostly privileged backgrounds, including her best friend, Madhavu Rao. These people were, senior, mostly finished their degrees, almost ready to graduate, very intelligent people. Anu was known to her friends as attention-seeking, obsessed with her looks. Her identity was very reliant on her beauty and how she looked to people. In school, like high school, even before university, she was always had to be the centre of attention. Right. So Anu had told the party guests, all of her friends, none of them were Joe's. Joe had moved from Newcastle a few months before to be with her, so in Canberra, because she was still studying there, and he relocated against his family's wishes. Strong wishes that he not move to Canberra to be with her, but he went anyway. She told the party guests that this was to be the couple's final goodbye. She informed them that her friends, that they had made a suicide pact, and it was to be carried out that evening.
Oh my God. I'm curious to know how the friends responded to the fucking other suicide pact.
Just wait.
God.
So her friends and guests attended the party regardless of her claims that both herself and Joe would be dead later that evening. Prior to the dinner party, Anu and her friend, I don't really know how to pronounce this, so it's Madhavu, began investigating methods of injecting heroin with lethal consequences. So basically they had gone out into their new acquaintances, and they went out and spoke to people who knew how to inject heroin and researched how to inject heroin.
And she was law, that's right.
Yeah. They drank alcohol throughout the dinner, and after the guests left, Anu slipped Rohypnol into Joe's coffee that Madhavu had procured for her through another acquaintance. So her best friend was the one who got the Rohypnol that she gave to Joe after everyone had left. She then proceeded to inject Joe with the heroin whilst he was unconscious. The dose that she gave him was so concentrated that it congealed, and she had trouble administering it into his veins. Joe woke on Saturday morning with a horrible hangover from the Rohypnol, but believed it to be the side effects of too much alcohol. He thought he had a really bad hangover.
Which is understandable.
Because she was unsuccessful in her attempts to inject it into his veins. So Anu made her second attempt. She invited guests over, the same guests, for another meal that night, and during the day went back to the people who had shown her how to inject the drug to get it right. By Sunday morning, Joe Cinque was vomiting blood and continued to do so for 36 hours before Anu called a friend asking what she should do. The friend promptly told her if she called an ambulance now, she may end up with an angry but alive boyfriend. If she didn't, she'd be a murderer. Anu relented and called emergency services, but in her hesitation for them to arrive in time to save Joe, she didn't want them to get there in time. She gave them a fake name and a fake address.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Despite Joe becoming unresponsive. So he was pretty bad by that point. He wasn't responding to anything, and she still gave a fake name and a fake address. By the time emergency services made their way to the Canberra apartment, they were faced with a fully unconscious and unresponsive Joe and a hysterical Anu. When the paramedics attempted to remove him from the apartment after their unsuccessful attempts to revive him, she straddled him while she was hysterical, requiring her to be forcibly removed. Joe was pronounced...
So hang on. So when they tried to revive him, she straddled him.
So they tried to revive him. They were unsuccessful. They tried to remove him from the apartment and she straddled him and refused to let him go.
Right. Okay. So she's either trying to play the sad partner and didn't want to let him go, and also probably trying to prolong anymore.
And look, I have watched so many documentaries about it now because I've become a little bit obsessed with it. Because it's such, I haven't even gotten to the more insane parts of the story. If you want more information, I strongly encourage you to go and watch some of the YouTube videos and some of the documentary pieces, because the level of the insaneness about the situation. You really need to see some of the video and hear some of the stories to put it together, because it just gets worse and worse and worse. So they couldn't revive him. They pretty much knew he was dead, and she jumped on him and they had to remove her. And there's some of the police have been interviewed in some of the documentaries that attended the apartment when they were removing him. And one of the policewomen who was there, she says, she kept running up to her and saying, he had a lot last night, he had a lot. And she was just, running all over the place. And there was an element of her acting like she was, crazy.
Gave a shit,
Yeah. So he was pronounced dead shortly after, eventually the cause of death being determined as cardiac arrest. But in the findings, he was vomiting blood for about 36 hours after her second attempt to kill him. So what a lot of the, I guess, and look, this isn't something that was determined definitely in court, but a lot of people after the fact have said basically she tortured him for 36 hours, and that led to the cardiac arrest because his body would have been in so much stress, and it would have started to shut down from the level of drugs that he had ingested. And
she's probably gone along telling him as well that she's called the ambulance and all this shit while it's happening.
Quite possibly. Who knew what would have happened?
Yeah.
Behind closed doors during that period of time when he was ill. Prior to the events that occurred over the weekend of October 26, 1997, Joe Cinque had never taken any type of recreational drug.
Sorry.
Anu Singh was charged with murder on the 28th of October 1997. She claimed that she had injected Joe first to prevent him from stopping her own suicide attempt. So she claimed that he would try to stop her from killing herself. Therefore she tried to subdue him. There was never any evidence presented that Anu had tried to kill herself after Joe was drugged. She further claimed that she was suffering from health problems stemming from taking a drug called Ipecac that makes you vomit. She said Joe was the one that encouraged her to take the drug to lose weight. She was obsessed with her weight. She had, eating disorders, allegedly.
Yeah.
His friends and family claimed that Joe would never be capable of making a suggestion of that nature, and furthermore insisting that Joe wouldn't even know what that drug was. So this is 97, remember?
Yeah.
This was just when, you wouldn't even really have access to internet, really, unless you were going to a library. So Google all this shit. He was an engineer, so he didn't come across medical. But it could be, it's hearsay really. He could have known what it was. He could have told her, but they claim that he never would have. She had seen doctors in recent times for medical conditions that were undiagnosed. So she claimed that she had things crawling on her. She had skin diseases. Whenever she presented to a GP or a medical practitioner, they were like, "We don't know what you're talking about." And she had eating disorders, including bulimia. Her parents, who were doctors, medical doctors, believed she was suffering from depression. Despite medication being prescribed to her for mental health issues before Joe's death, she refused to take the meds as she believed she would become fat. So she had seen her share of medical practitioners leading up to his death, but she had chosen to not listen to their advice on treatment. In her trial, she opted for the ruling to be determined by a judge rather than a jury of her peers, which is a law in Canberra in 97. I'm not sure if that's still a law and if it's across all Australian states, but in Canberra it was at the time. A judge determined that she had diminished responsibility due to mental illness, including a diagnosis of a borderline personality disorder and depression. She was convicted of manslaughter with a sentence of 10 years, parole after 4. Due to the time spent in prison on remand during sentencing and court proceedings, Anu Singh served 18 months in minimum security total.
Oh my God, the parents must have been fucking ropeable.
Gets worse. During this 18-month period, she was granted day release to attend local classes for the University of Sydney in order to complete her degree in criminology and to go on and finish her master's.
Oh my God, how they even let her study criminology after that?
She never gave testimony at her trial.
Mm.
Evidence was given in court alleging that Anu Singh had spoken about her in-depth knowledge of mental health and also her in-depth knowledge of the law, making it easy for her to be able to use this information as a defence in situations if she was ever accused of a crime.
Of course.
The court reporter who was in one of the documentaries that I watched, who witnessed the whole thing, said that she, every time something came up, she would, something that was said about her, something bad, something horrific that most people would get upset about, she would cry and she would put her head in her hands and shake her head and be sobbing and things like that, and then she'd just slowly look up and look around
to see who was looking
to see if she was pulling it off and if people were watching her, like she was putting on an act the entire time. Again, hearsay.
Complete psychopath tendencies.
One person's, recollection of her observations and her perspective. The investigating police officer is quoted as saying, when referring to the dinner party guests who attended the premises over 2 occasions before Joe's murder, who were fully aware that there was a suicide pact allegedly, which now it's come out that he never knew anything. Joe knew nothing about it. There was no suicide pact. She told her friends she was attention seeking, yada yada. She told her friends to get them there. Not one of them, so there was multiple people there, like upwards of 10 people, I believe, and they were all called to be witnesses in court. Not one of those people who were there ever shed a tear publicly for Joe out of her friends. So these were university students about to finish their degree in law, from privileged backgrounds, who went there willingly and admitted to police that they willingly went there knowing that it was a suicide pact and it was likely that someone would die after the dinner parties had ended.
There has to be some fucking accountability for that too.
Well, they never pursued them. They never pursued the people who were there. They just let it go, I guess, because they were going to be witnesses in the defence, for the prosecution. So I guess they were open about what she said, so they were on the prosecution side. So I guess they couldn't charge them, because then would they provide witness testimony so freely if they were up on charges? Well, maybe that was part of it. I don't know. But he reckons they told their perspective. They were distant from their recollection as they gave witness testimony. None of them seemed to show any empathy or were apologetic, or showed any type of remorse that they could have stopped the events that occurred at any time.
It's a complete lack of empathy, yeah.
Yeah, maybe they hadn't been in situations because they were privileged, had privileged upbringings. They hadn't had the opportunity to experience empathy for people in situations like that before because they hadn't been through it. Who knows?
Wow.
I think that's really awful.
It's callous.
So horrible. So then the forensic psychologist who presented in the case, actually at trial, there's a quote from him and he says, "She planned it, she talked about it. Clearly this is an intentional act. Clearly there's no excuse for that. But the law says if you are significantly mentally disordered, such that if you hadn't been mentally disordered, that you wouldn't have committed the act, then you have diminished responsibility. Yeah. So if we talk about what you were just saying about Arthur Freeman, wasn't it?
Freeman, yep.
So he claims that he had diminished.
Yeah, he didn't know what he was doing. The rage had taken over.
Mental health. This is her claim throughout the entire trial of a judge, not a jury of peers. She knew. She was intelligent enough. She knew the law well enough to know that if she had to stand up with his family sitting there in the courtroom sobbing and crying, and you know breaking the hearts of the jurors, that she would never ever been able to get away with what she got away. I strongly believe that from all the things that I've looked at.
But yeah, no, I totally agree. There's a case, there's a show on Stan at the moment, and you'd remember it from America. The chick who basically they say bullied, but influenced her boyfriend to kill himself over social text.
Yes, I know the one. Yep.
She did the same thing where she didn't want a jury to determine her fate because they would have a much sort of more empathetic, probably, response than a judge would. They'd be looking at stats.
Black and white.
Yeah.
And judges are also, I would imagine, quite like they see it all the time. So in the end, they put up a bit of a wall, like they can compartmentalize it a little bit and just look at the facts of what happened. But even then, for me, reviewing this, the first time I started researching it, I was like, and there's a bit more to it, and I'll get to that. I started sort of feeling, oh, look, I kind of feel for her if she had mental, health issues and stuff like that. Yeah. She's come out of prison, she's just trying to live her life. The more I've researched, the more I'm just like, nah.
Stupid bitch.
She got away with this. She absolutely got away with this. She did 18 months, and in that time she managed to get her master's. Anyone who's gone to uni probably would describe doing your master's as being in prison for a couple of years anyway, because you barely sleep and eat, and you're focused on studying the entire time. She was able to do that. She probably wouldn't have had much of a life during that period anyway. And now she's free to do whatever the fuck she wants.
Yeah. That's shit.
The other part of it, she's now an author of a PhD thesis that's published by the University of Sydney. So several years after she came out of jail and finished her degree, she was able to publish her thesis. She was supervised by two important professors at the University of Sydney. The thesis is titled Offending Women Towards a Greater Understanding of Women's Pathways into and Out of Crime in Australia, which I think is actually a really noble piece of work, because it looks at mental health, obviously, but it also looks at upbringing, abuse, social economics, and all those contributing factors, particularly to women, which we all know that women offenders for murder is quite different to male offenders. The things that motivate them, and the passion, what happens.
Women usually always are more known to do poisons when they do.
Which is what she did.
Yeah.
So I think it is probably a noble piece of literature, and something that is important to be out there, especially if the research is validated and it's been supervised by two other professionals. So it is important information. But she gets to go on with her life.
Yeah, she gets to continue living.
She hasn't had any consequences.
And she gets a master's at the same fucking time.
Exactly. So the parents were Italian immigrants. Families, everything. It's not that it's not to anyone else, but they heavily disliked her and didn't approve of the relationship. However, you can't really stand in the way sometimes. And look what she done. She took that. He was 26, and she took him away from them, and he could have had children and had an amazing career and got married and all this sort of stuff. And the friend who went with her and researched every step of the way, 100% knew what she was doing, got the Rohypnol for her and gave it to her, she got off scot-free too. They said there was never any proof that she was involved, apart from her statements that said she was involved. Therefore, she also went up against the judge instead of the jury. She elected to do that. I would say it's obviously on the advice of Anu. And she was completely exonerated and left the country and got married and never heard from again. So she's off living her life like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, that's fucked. And you hope that the guilt, now that they're older as well, especially the guilt that fucking they have from it, just haunts them.
Look, everything that I've seen from this woman, I'm not sure that she's capable of it. Yeah. I think she's one of those ones who's incredibly intelligent. I think she, as premeditated as this clearly was, and all the things that she'd done to prove that she put a hell of a lot of thought and planning into killing this man, I think it's even more than that. I think it was even more calculated. I think she thought about getting caught, and I think she clearly thought out those steps of how she could avoid the type of sentence. She also came from money. Her mum and her dad were both doctors, so there was a bit of wealth there. So I don't think the government paid for her education to get the degree. Well, I would hope that it wasn't taxpayers' dollars that go into that. But not many people have access to that whilst they're in prison. But she got day release, for fuck's sake. So
attend class.
So really, she went to classes and she came back and she slept in the prison. Like, what a fucking joke. And this poor family are absolutely devastated. And one of the documentaries has the mother's godson, and he visited Joe and Anu in Canberra on 3 occasions and met with her and had hung out with her a bit, and just doesn't have nice things to say about it at all.
Sounds like a complete narcissist.
Oh, totally. And now she just claims, I just want to get on with my life. And there's been a movie about it. There's been books published about it. Yeah. And she whinges about the fact, that she, her side isn't really presented. And while she has empathy, she says she has empathy for the family. Her side wasn't really accurately presented, but apparently any request on her to give interviews she declined. But she also then claimed she was never contacted to get interviews, and she's tried to do her own documentary, but a lot of people involved don't want to participate in her side of the documentary. So there's not enough. So it does, and the mother, when she's interviewed in some of the documentaries that she's in, and she's on a Sunday night report and news report and stuff like that, she says the only thing she's ever referred to in their house is the devil. She doesn't call her by their name. So the whole way through the interview, she's calling her the devil.
Wow. And rightly so.
Yeah, and the dad died. The dad died in 2007. So
his dad.
Yeah. So, but he sobs through the whole thing. It's brutal to watch. It's really, really awful and really sad. And I think we talk about this often, miscarriage of justice, and whether or not a sentence is dealt out adequately or not.
That's a huge miscarriage of justice, and you wonder and you hope it's not because of the wealth that she had.
It's hard to say. Look, because it's hard to say, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of that. She certainly would have been able to afford the best possible legal team available. To her, and I guess I think it's really sad for that family to have lost their child and to not think. I don't think any sentence is ever enough anyway.
But that's a complete
go through. But that's a slap in the face. And then for the friend to get off, for all the people that attended that dinner, you think someone would have someone would have called the police. Someone would have said, "This is what's happening." It seemed like they were just there for the drama of it all, and maybe part of them didn't think that she would go through with it. Maybe they thought it was all bullshit.
Yeah. And it was meant to be a joint suicide pact, but they went back again and did it, even though he was the only one who got sick. And
she never tried to kill herself. She didn't have slashes on her wrists, or she wasn't injected with any substance. She didn't take any drugs. It was incredibly meditated.
Yeah.
And it's just a horrible story. But piecing it together through the documentaries is totally worthwhile if you're more interested in this story, because this woman, I mean, she was out of prison, so it was 1997. She was out of prison by 2000. So it's,
do you know what the movie's called?
No, but it's based on the book, and if you were to Google it, you would totally
get it straight away.
A shit ton of information on it. Yeah. And she talked about it when she talked about after when she was, giving witnesses. So she never testified for herself in court either. She never gave testimony, but she has reflected on it in interviews and talked about the whole experience, like doing an experiment for a science project.
She's a fucking idiot.
Completely detached from it all, mental health, but still, you still have to have consequences. Even if you're sick, you still took someone's life, so you still should have a level of,
accountability.
Yeah, but things should be taken away from you. Do you know what I mean? Like, she
should
be able to just go
like
back
freedom.
into life. Like, even if she'd served 10 or 15 years, she's 44. Well, the last interview I think I read was 2017, so she'd be in her 50s, I think, or close to her 50s now.
Well, at least she's older than me.
Yeah. But she's lived all this time doing whatever the fuck she wants, and he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's a horrible, horrible story.
It's another fucking miscarriage of justice.
Oh.
What a stupid bitch.
That is it, yeah.
And not the good kind of stupid bitch either.
No, not the good kind. Certainly not the good kind. She's horrible. Yeah. What did you think of that? Is that shocking or is that shocking?
Yeah. Just the amount of people that were involved is just bizarre. The fact that, and I don't have anything against rich kids except the fact that I wasn't one. It's just funny, like that whole detached thing, as you said, the lack of empathy, the whole detached from any accountability for it, just a zero care. Like this person who was an engineer and fucking thought he obviously found the love of his life. Yeah. And she's fucking, yeah. But what was she doing it for? Why was she trying to kill him? We don't, like, just for attention and...
She reckons that he was trying to poison her with the ipecac. That's what she claims. But there was never any evidence of that. I do think to a degree he became... They say that he was trying to leave her, but that's pure speculation because it's just the god brother or whatever it is. He's the godson of the mother. And they weren't related. He said that he brought this new car and he really thought he was getting a lot of pressure from the family to get rid of her because they all hated her. And he had completely changed that he'd moved to Canberra and they were all of the opinion that he was unhappy and he was just counting down the moments till he was just finding a way to jump ship, and that she thought that was happening. So she decided to kill him before. But again, I think sometimes family, when they hate someone like that, they want to think that you're about to leave, whether he was or not.
Yeah.
But it does appear that,
Was there anything on with her parents in the special?
No, they talked about, so they thought she had depression. They had tried to get her to see help. And they were doctors, so they knew a little bit about, how to try to get her to the right professionals, but she refused the help and she didn't want to get fat from any of the drugs that they offered her.
Stupid bitch.
Which again, I think it's hard to make people take drugs when they don't want to, when they have mental health. I think that's a story that is quite common.
Because a lot of the time people don't think they have mental health issues.
Of course. Yeah, she thought she had AIDS at one stage. She said she had HIV, but that all goes into hand in hand with the fact that she was attention seeking. So she always, even in high school,
so that's what it's all about.
She had to be the center of attention,
and this was another way to get to center of attention. Then she'd always have the love of my life died when I was younger, and
yeah, and it was interesting that it was all her friends that were at the dinner party. None of his mates were there, which I mean, he'd only been there for a little bit of time, so maybe he hadn't made that many friends. But that seems to think that maybe he was ready to jump ship. Do you know what I mean? If he's not bringing his mates around, he's just he's like, just looking for his getaway.
Yeah.
And that could have been the things that made her do it. But they say diminished responsibility.
Yeah. Is that what they said in my one as well? Is that quote I said or diminished something else?
But in the end, they didn't buy it.
No, thank God.
So I don't understand why, she got away with it. It still baffles me that a judge would turn around and say, oh, yeah,
well, that's
18 months, mate. You drugged him, you tortured him for 36 hours.
18 months.
See ya. Just serve 18 months and then go and, finish your law degree while you're in there.
Get your master's.
Have day release, just.
And why do they want someone like that in law or in criminology? I don't get it.
Well, just so to get your master's, you have to publish a PhD and get it signed off, basically. And I only know that because my friend has a PhD. So she may have her master's, but she's not going to be able to practice. Because I was talking to my friend who knows about this stuff this morning, telling her this story, and I said, because I know she was working in some volunteer organisations and people got wind of it and tried to get her, I don't know, I think she might have been getting paid for it, but they tried to get her sacked and stuff like that, because at one stage she was handing out needles to people with drug problems, and they were like, why are you putting needles in this woman's hand to give to people with drug problems to help them when she has killed people with needles? Like, that's just insane. And then they stopped her from handing out the needles but still let her work at the clinic. And
you stupid bitch. I'm actually going to look into that. Vinny's going to love that documentary or that movie special on that one.
Oh, he will. He'll love it. It's great. I haven't seen the movie. I've only seen the documentaries, so, and a few different snippets and bits and pieces that I've been researching. So, yeah, absolutely. Get Vinny to have a look at it because I think he will love it. Like, there's way more to it. Well, thanks for listening to our first true crime episode of Stupid Bitches Say What, Season 3. Join us next week as we tap into our pop culture realness.
Well, yes. Join us while Skye tells about her love of the TV show Orphan Black, which she claims should have won way more awards than what it has. While I get into my newfound love of the highly dysfunctional and completely despicable characters in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's amazing.
And tell your mates Season 3 has started. Bye, stupid bitches.
Bye. Yeah. That stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That stupid bitch.